Hi, I am Chitra Mehendale. I am Microfocus ADM SaaS Technical Solution Consultant for PPM. Welcome to the today's session. I'm going to talk about overview of PPM Purge tool functionality today. So let's get started. Here is the agenda. I'm going to talk about why do we need this purge feature and how it can be useful for many organizations. What exactly is this purge tool um, developed by PPM product? Then we'll talk about tool features, its prerequisites, and how do you define business criteria using this tool. I'll go over the high level process for the purging of the data. And lastly, we'll talk about the purge benefits. So we live in the age of data where everything that surrounds us is linked to a data source and everything in our lives is captured digitally. PPM product has been around more than 2 decades now. So there are many organizations which has been using the products for many years now. Due to this, they have huge volume of the business data accumulated in their production schema, and large amount of this data which belongs to past many years is no longer relevant or needed in the system. Some organizations have strict compliance policies as well for the data retention. And hence, in some cases, the organizations are also looking for an option to purge unwanted old business data safely from their environments by maintaining data integrity and also to boost the system performance. So that's why PPM product has introduced this purge tool. This tool was firstly introduced during PPM version 9.3, and there are some main defect fixes that went in for the version 9.4 and 9.5. So for purging, here is the list of entities that it currently supports. So it has time, you can purge timesheets, projects, requests, programs, packages, releases, staffing profiles, portfolios, and scenario comparison. Since most of the times timesheet projects and requests they're all interrelated entities, it's always advisable to select all the data which is relevant to each other in one go, and purge the data in basically one go. And the purge tool is designed in such a way that the more data you select to be purged in one go, the better it is. So that's always a suggestion that select all your business data that needs to be deleted from the past years together in one go. So the main prerequisite to use the purge tool is to first scope the data that you would like to purge, which is called as also business criteria. So the technical team, along with the inputs from the business and business approval, you can come up with the data set that you would like to purge. I'm going to show you a quick example for a sample data set from a sample organization, um, using which you can do some data analysis. And this is a manual activity. This is not included in tool, but it needs to be done um, before you can scope uh, the purge data for your business. So in this example, uh, this organization has been using PPM product from 2009, and they have these many request types, these many projects types, staffing profile, timesheet, packages, portfolio, organizations in the system currently. So you can actually create um, something like this, a spreadsheet with which has actually number of entities, count of entities for per year, and basically show it to the business and get the approval. So for these organizations, since they have this data retention policy for 4 years, they have they have given approval. The business has given approval to purge all the data for all these entities from 2009 to end of 2016. So that's the data set which is marked here. This gives a better idea, how much data that needs to be deleted from the system. Now let's see how purge tool helps you define your business criteria. So the purge tool has each entity listed which it supports to purge the data. And then um, for each entity, let's take an example of request. You select a request type and then you select the different status, or if you want to purge the requests for belongs to that request type with all the status, you can choose all as a status, or you can use individual statuses. And then you choose a date. So all the data which is created before this date will be purged. So in this example, if we say int max request type is selected with all status options, then with this date, all the requests which are generated of this request type in the system, which are created before 1st January 2017, will be purged as part of the purge process. Similarly, for all other entities, projects, timesheet packages, staffing profiles, programs, you can also select corresponding statuses and then the date. So based on the date and the status combination, the entity count will be selected. Basically, entity data set will be selected. So here are the prerequisites for the Purge tool. Purge tool is basically a standalone tool created by PPM product, but it is packaged with all the installations starting from 9.3 onwards. So you will see the ppm-purge.zip under ppm bin purge folder. So you can unzip that file, and there is a purge guide which is a part of the product documentation which gives all the details about the prerequisites and the steps that are you need to use to actually complete the purge process. Before you start on the actual technical prerequisites, as I said, you need to define the business criteria and get approval from the business side, as well as during the purge process, it's a requirement that the instance needs to be down. So you'll need to get approval for the instance downtime. Since the purge process is a very database intensive process, you need to have some database configurations done. For example, increase the temp and data table space size. It's usually at least 2.5 times than the actual size of the PPM schema. So for example, if the PPM schema is around 100 GB, you would like to have the temporary and a data table space size increased to 250 GB just before the purge process. When you are planning to do the purge process, and once the purge is complete, you can actually go back and reduce the size to the default values. Um, Along with that, you also need to define a ppm purge directory in the DB server. This Under this folder, all the log files are gets created when the purge process runs. There are also a couple of recommendations to disable the archive logs during the when the purge process is scheduled, and increase the undo segment timing. Again, these are recommendation, not requirement, but they are strong recommendations from the DB side. From the file system configuration, you want to review the instance configuration to make sure it has great CPU and memory, because that also gets utilized during the purge process. You will need to update the ppm info.configuration conf file, which is under that purge folder, with the schema information, the schema name password basically. And you should stop any dependent DB activities that might be scheduled on the daily basis when the purge is going to happen, so that there is no conflict. That can be a ETL or any database jobs, etc. Make sure that you have defined the business criteria in the XML file, especially when it's a complex data set. And once the instance is taken down for actual running the purge process, you first want to start the purge server, and all these details are documented in the purge guide, as I said. And this purge process works based on the dedicated database for the ppm. So here is the high level process how the purge works. So once the organization decides to go ahead with to use this purge process, um, and once the business criteria is defined, with the business, with the approval from the business, you would want to run this purge process on non-production environments, maybe one or two. For that, recommendation is to refresh the data from production with the production latest production data, and then start the purge process with the first of all complete the prerequisites and then execute the purge. Once the purge is successful, you want to do a full data validation to make sure that the data which was part of the business criteria for purposes is no longer in the system, and the current data uh, is intact and safe. And you may want to involve also some people from the business side to do perform a UAT, quick UAT on that. And once you get all the approvals, you can actually schedule the production. You should schedule the production purge, and for that you'll need to get the downtime window approved just before starting the purge. Once the instance production instance goes down, take the schema backup as well as file system backup, just in case if something goes wrong during the purge process. Then stop all the schedule activities on the PPM schema, like database jobs or ETLs. Then actual purge will be executed. And once the purge is complete, as part of the purge post purge steps, it's recommended to have the reindexing done. And you want to do you want to gather basically latest stats on the DB side. This is to make sure that you get the best performance, since there is a big um, data is now purged in the system. It's recommended to have the stats gathered. Then you can start all the DB jobs, ETLs, or schedule activities that you just stopped just before the purge. And then you should start the instance and perform the data validation for that. So this is just a high level purge process. As I said, um, there are two ways to define the purge criteria. One is through the user interface for the purge, using the purge tool. And here is when you start the purge tool, it will take you the purge criteria, which is the first step in the define purge criteria, where you select the entity. Then in this case, we have selected the request, and then the entity type, which is a request type, the required statuses and the date. And you can define all of them together one by one, and it will be listed out here. So here in this case, basically we have selected APM application as a request. So all the request of this request type with a status as new but created before 7 December 2018 will be purged as part of the once the purge completes. So here is a quick snapshot of a XML. And most of the time, since the data is very complex for the purge business criteria, you will go with the XML option. So define all the criteria and save it in an XML file and upload that XML file into the same folder. So it would actually, once you upload this file in this purge folder, it will basically skip this first step and it will take you to the second step, which is a pre-processing. So in the pre-processing step, what it does, it based on the business criteria in the XML file, it marks the data set, and it at the end it says the making finished. And this button will be enabled after that. So you press this button and then you go to the next step, which is a start purge. During this process is actually performing the purge, and it's deleting that data based on the business criteria from the core tables. Once the purge is complete, you should hit that next button, and you are in the last step of the purge, where it shows the purge results in this tabular format, where it lists all the entities and what was the count before the purge and after the purge, and it shows year wise. Now let's go back and basically see. I mean, I talked about the benefits, but just want to reiterate that. So basically, you would want to use this purge feature to basically fulfill compliance or data retention policy that our organization has. It also, after the purge is complete, You will see the system performance. There is a boost in system performance because SEMA size goes down significantly if you have many years of data cleaned up. And the last but not least, the maintenance activities such as database backups or full ETL takes a lot less than what you are probably uh, currently need. So all these are all win-win situation for the organizations. So if you have so that's pretty much what the purge process is at the high level. Um, if you would like to get help on this solution, contact your Microfocus support team online at https supportline.microfocus.com, or for our managed services customers, you may use your My account to reach us. Thanks for joining this session.